Okay, joining us live in the studio, the Lord Mayor of the City of Melbourne, Nick Reece. Good morning.
Good morning, Tom. Great to be with you and the AW listeners.
Now, last year we spoke before you went on your overseas trips. So September, China and Japan. November, Brazil. Later on in November, India. These, according to the Age newspaper, the Herald Sun, cost $156,000. Was it money well spent?
So that headline number is not correct, but I'm not going to quibble with that.
But it was more.
No, it was less. I think they've double counted there. The truth is all of those business missions were delivered under budget and they generated huge economic benefits for Melbourne, well in excess of $200 million. You know, Tom, that everything works better in person. That's why I'm here with you in the studio today.
Yeah, but
and you cannot seize global opportunities from behind a desk at Town Hall.
Okay, but in Brazil, you went to a World Mayors Summit, so you just met other mayors. I mean, how does that generate opportunities for Melbourne?
So that was a global mayors summit as part of the COP30 process. Mm-hmm. Of course, local government is the level of government that is closest to the people when it comes to action on climate. We are the innovators, we are the implementers of a lot of these policies. And so hearing what other cities around the world is doing is very valuable. In our case, Tom, in that particular summit, Melbourne took a global green data centre charter and got 11 cities around the world to sign on to.
So what does that mean?
So, we're seeing this massive expansion of data centres.
Yeah, but we don't have enough water or power for them.
Well, that's exactly the point, Tom. They are hugely energy consumers. They are massive water consumers. And we need to ensure that while we're embracing the AI revolution and cloud computing, that we do that in a sustainable way. And so Melbourne actually led the charge on this, Tom, and we got other cities around the world signing on. And so we're now all agreeing to global standards. So if, build a new data centre, great, but let's make sure it conforms with planning laws, make sure it's using renewable power and it's using recycled water. It's got a sustainable water management plan.
But why do we care what they do in other parts of the world?
Well, because we can learn from others and we can also set standards that we all agree that we're going to comply with. So to use the example of the data centres, here in Melbourne, we estimate that data centres will use more than 20% of the city's power by 2040. Now, if that power is not coming from sustainable renewables, then we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So trying to get other cities to do the same as us and sign on to sustainable standards is a good thing.
But I don't want to belabor the point. But I mean, the City of Melbourne does not run coal-fired power stations, so that's a separate layer of government. So where your power comes from for all these data centres is not your decision. You can say, it must be renewable, but that depends on other decisions to shut down coal-fired power stations and replace them with something else. Now, there's a picture of you in the Age in...
just on that point, Tom, but we do have regulatory powers around planning, and we do the planning approvals for major projects. We also set sustainability standards around water, energy consumption at a city level. So there's a very much front row seat for local government and particularly city government in these areas.
Just pull it out of the Yarra. Now, there's a picture of you here. I think you're in Tianamen Square. Is that right? Or is it No. In China, you've seen this?
Yes, I have visited Tianamen Square.
You're posing, talking into your mobile phone. You do realise that our dear leader, Daniel Andrews, had almost exactly the same pose in exactly the same location on one of his secret trips to China a few years ago?
Yes, I do, Tom. I haven't been living in a cupboard in Melbourne for the last 10 years. That photograph was my attempt at humour. It was a bit of a piss take on the infamous Dan Andrews photo. I was in China as part of a business mission, the biggest business mission that the city has ever led to China. And we took that photograph as a bit of a laugh, and I'm glad that you can see the humour in it, Tom.
Well, I'm glad it is humour. You didn't meet Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin, did you?
No. I did meet the mayor of Beijing, who's an extraordinary guy. And in fact, we met the mayors of Chengdu, Nanjing and Tianjin as well. And I mean, these are
they're our sister cities.
Well, Tianjin is our sister city. And I was very pleased to sign a new friendship city agreement with Chengdu.
Another one.
And so these friendships, these connections are great for Melbourne. Tom, can I just go back one step here? You know, as part of my role as mayor, I represent the central business district, and I made an election promise when I ran for mayor that I would aggressively pursue trade and investment opportunities for our city. And so that is what I'm out there and doing.
All right. Yeah, now, just so you know, I don't have a problem with a Lord Mayor like you, the City of Melbourne, going overseas on targeted trips. But you might be aware, like, the Frankston Mayor wants to set up his own Department of Foreign Affairs, in the Frankston City Council. Now, would you agree with me that that shouldn't happen?
Look, I'm not sure it's my place to pass comments on what's going on there in Frankston. From my perspective, I am chasing headquarter opportunities for our city, investment opportunities. I want more international flights coming to Melbourne. That's great for Melburnians in terms of tourism, etc., but it also bringing people to our city, driving our economy.
Right, now let's look at some serious issues here. First is working from home.
Just before we jump off that, there's also India, which I visited. Now, we secured more than 1,000 tech jobs for Melbourne off the India trip. I have a personal view on this. Sydney, if you look at a lot of the American IT companies, like your Googles, your Facebooks, your Apples, they're all headquartered in Sydney. Melbourne missed that opportunity. Indian IT companies are the fastest growing in the world. We are aggressively chasing them. We've got Infosys, Indian IT company, headquartered in Docklands, 3,000 jobs there. First Source, they've got 1,000 jobs on Lonsdale Street. These are software engineering jobs, and they're coming to Melbourne. And as Lord Mayor, I'm out there aggressively chasing these companies, saying, come and do business here, set up your headquarters here.
All right, now very quickly, and Nicholas Reece will take your call. So if you have a question for the Lord Mayor, now is your chance, 133 Working from home. Now, the Premier is charging down this path of making it a human right. You've got, the police union and other unions saying, well, our members can't work from home. We demand a pay rise to compensate us. And clearly working from home is not good for the CBD. Are you speaking to the Premier about this?
Look, it's fair to say that the Premier and I have a different perspective on this. I think that hybrid working is here to stay. Family-friendly, flexible workplaces should absolutely be here to stay. I've got a young family myself. I can see the benefits of family-friendly, flexible workplaces. But I think Melbourne is at its best when it is full of people, and I think workplaces are at their best when they are full of people as well.
I agree, but if the state government makes it a human right, I mean, good luck, having a full city on Mondays and Fridays.
I also think there's a fairness dimension to this. If you're a police officer or a nurse or a teacher, you have to turn up to your workplace to work. If you're if you're working in public service administration or you're a poly, you shouldn't be able to work from home when you want to. You should be part of the team and turning up to your workplace.
All right, well, let's talk to the Premier about that. Now, your predecessor, Sally Capp, a few years ago took a trip to Singapore to look at how to stop graffiti. One of the things they do is they lock them up in prison for years and years and years, and guess what? There's not much graffiti. Have we made any progress in the war on graffiti?
We absolutely have, Tom. At our council meeting last night, actually, we got a report on this. 1 year on since the election, and customer satisfaction with our graffiti removal efforts is at 88%. We've got our new 1 hour response time for hateful.
So if I see some graffiti and I take a photo and say, "Hello, Nicholas, here it is at the corner of William and Collins Street, please remove it." I mean, you will run down with the bucket and a brush and do something straight away?
Well, if it's hateful or racist material, we've got a 1 hour response time.
Right.
So yes, what you're saying is right. We are literally right on it, getting it removed. We also know that for the taggers, they're chasing notoriety. They want as many people as possible.
You got to remove
so you've got to get
quickly.
it off as quickly as possible, and that's what we're doing. So we're making a massive effort in this area, and I think we've really turned things around over the last year. We've still got a long way to go, but things are looking a lot better than what they were.
And the last other big issue that I think deters a lot of people coming into the CBD, and we will go to calls in a moment, is demonstrations. For 2 and a bit years, we had a demonstration, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel, every single Sunday. There's a few other demos, but that's the main one. Have we seen the end of those?
I certainly hope so. acknowledge there is protest fatigue out there. I've got it myself. We're all fed up with the disruption, every weekend for 2 years. I would like us to move to an arrangement where we get agreements around static protests. So, we don't have processions going all over the city.
You stand in one place.
Shutting every tram line. And I think we could have a permit system where we get agreed places where protests happen.
And a water cannon if they go beyond the agreed time.
Look, that's for you to say, Tom. I do think it's, everyone's got rights in this city. And when we're shutting down the Swanston Street tram, the busiest tram route in the world, every Sunday for 2 years, that's unacceptable. What about the rights of families and everyone else in Melbourne to get around the city?
Pamela, good morning.
Good morning. Hi. Look, I've lived in the city for 25 years and I live up near the market, but I go all over the city. And, of course, we have an influx of residents, so many residents, which also gives you more rates. I find the city is just disgustingly dirty. And you said you've been to Japan. You must have noticed there's no rubbish.
Yes,
not
that's
even
true.
Any rubbish bins.
No, the Japanese are a very clean race of people, if I can say that. By that I mean they don't litter. They, even if they have a cigarette, and a lot of them still smoke, they stub it out, put it in the bin. We don't do that. What can we do, Lord Mayor?
Well, certainly Japan is a different society to us. I have travelled to Japan, as you said. I think it's a fabulous place. I mean, they don't have many public litter bins out in the streets because people put their litter in their bag and take it home with them. That is a very different culture and society to the one they have. That doesn't mean we couldn't learn a thing or two from what they do there. I do agree that, you go to those big cities in Japan like Tokyo or our sister city, Osaka, and they're incredibly clean and it's great.
Well, let's learn from the Japanese. I have noticed, you've got those bins that have sensors in them, so when they get to a certain level of rubbish, someone's supposed to empty them. And some of the ones I've used, have got rubbish cascading out of them. So whatever the sensor is or the person whose job it is to go and empty it, that doesn't do it quickly enough. Can we improve that?
Yeah, we absolutely can. So there's smart bins with sensors, so we know when they're full and they're meant to get emptied quick smart after that. We have just introduced Snap Send Solve at the City of Melbourne. It's a fantastic app. It's very user-friendly. If you see some tagging, Pamela, or a bin overflowing, take a photograph of it, hit the send button. It's very easy to use and we will get our guys onto it straight away.
Catherine, go ahead.
This is in relation to parking at the City of Melbourne. I was wondering if you can introduce some sort of My Key parking card. We just tap on the spot you're parking in the parking meter to get your parking, instead of having to download the app and put your zone in and all that type of jazz, because it's very prohibitive for me to come into the city with my elderly parents and use public transport. So if you have some sort of similar My Key type card by the...
Yeah, well, you did change the app a few years ago. It was Paystay, which, to be honest, surrounding municipalities use, and then you decided to have
Easy Park. Is
Easy Park, which is, but I think probably apps are the way to go. Aren't they? Because you link up your credit card, you've got your reg already in there. Once you've got it in your phone, Catherine, it is easy to use.
Look, that is certainly the argument for why we've moved to the app. We want to make it as easy as possible for people.
They do rip you off because if you forget to say end or stop, it just charges you as though you've been there for like 6 hours or something. And I've seen that many times on my credit card statement.
One thing we have done, which I think is great, is the first 15 minutes are now free. So if you need to stop and pick up some bread or a bottle of something, you can dash in to the store, do that, get back in the car. Don't have to pay anything, Tom. The new app is meant to be as user-friendly as possible. So you don't have to, have your wallet with you. As long as you've got your phone, you should have your wallet and your licence because you're driving a car. But if you've got your phone, you can just tap away and it's as easy as that.
Paul, good morning.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. Look, I'm not too sure if the Lord Mayor ever goes down the Eastern Freeway towards the Hoddle Street exit, but as you drive down there, that looks like the depths of LA.
He goes down into his estate on the Mornington Peninsula. Well, that part where the Eastern Freeway hits Hoddle Street does have a lot of graffiti.
Yes, and look, I grew up in the outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne, so I know the Eastern Freeway very well. That is a Vic Roads road maintained by the state. As you get closer to the city, you move into roads that are owned and managed by the City of Melbourne. And I'm very pleased to say that the grass is green and well mowed in the City of Melbourne.
Is the top end where Victoria Parade and Brunswick Street intersect? There's a pothole that has been there for about 3 years. I drove over it on the way in this morning.
Well, my message to you, Tom, is snap, send, solve.
Well, I'm sorry.
Report that pothole and we will get on it.
Well, while driving, you are not allowed to use your mobile phone, and I can't stop in the middle of Victoria Parade. But I mean, it's been there for forever. Every single morning I hit it, and I say a rude word, and then repeat your name.
Well, Tom, I can tell you, we take huge pride in our streets and our nature strips in the City of Melbourne. We are a beautiful, tree-lined, elegant city. And as I said, you will find the nature strips are green and well-mowed, and our streets are very well maintained in the city. It's a point of huge pride.
The pothole is right opposite the Irony Hospital if you want to go and check it out.
Okay.
Tim, hello.
Yeah, Nick, I think you're doing a great job in terms of graffiti and stuff. One of the areas I'm looking at is the homelessness and what we do about it. I mean, I go and see you all the time, and there's certain spots there just always there, and I know it's a difficult one, but it's certainly it's a negative to the city.
To be fair, I actually walked down Elizabeth Street. I had a little bit of time to kill, and it seems to me that the southern end where Elizabeth Street hits Flinders Street has actually improved a bit. It's not perfect, but it's better than what it was. But, I mean, do we keep numbers or records of how many homeless people there are?
We absolutely do. We actually do street counts, so we've got a pretty good handle on the numbers around the city. You go back a few years ago, we had close to 500 people sleeping rough around the city. That number is now, don't quote me on this, but we're sitting around 77, I think is now the number. So it has come down really significantly.
Is there much you can do, though, I mean, apart from sort of rounding people up or whatever? I mean, is it getting, the Salvation Army into the act, or what can you actually do?
Yeah. So we do support street teams around the city, including the Salvation Army, as you say, and so they're out there. And look, we want the city to be safe and kind. So we want to make sure that people absolutely can get around and be safe, number one priority. But we also try to deal with issues like homelessness in a kind way and make sure that these people are getting the care that they need and going to the place where they can get that care.
We'll take one more call for Lord Mayor Nick Reece, who's not wearing his robes today, the possum skin cloak. Diane, hello.
Good morning. I live in East Melbourne, and I have to say the council does a good job here of maintenance. It always looks lovely and is well tended to. My concern is the recent massive increase in traffic through the residential streets. My guess is some of it is caused by the bike lanes in Albert Street, but I don't know. I think it needs a review. But last night, and this happens most evenings at peak hour these days, the traffic is banked up from Hoddle Street all the way to Clarendon Street, and cars are coming around the corner from Albert Street to try and push their way in. Yeah. It's absolute chaos.
Look, you're right, Diane, and I'm one of those people because I live just across the road from East Melbourne, because East Melbourne's out of my sort of price bracket. You can still use East Melbourne as a thoroughfare, but it's sort of one of those areas you'd think that you'd probably try and dissuade drivers from, shouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I'll say congratulations to you for living in East Melbourne. It is truly one of the most beautiful suburbs, and those homes and the streets are incredible, and the heritage of them is something we should all be very proud of, actually. But it is also notorious for rat runs through East Melbourne, people trying to get to the MCG or to the city. We have closed a number of streets in East Melbourne in recent years, and we've put some speed humps in as well, which have had mixed views, I've got to say, amongst the residents. So I'm very happy to keep leaning in, stop the rat runners and make your suburb as livable as possible. I also want to slow motorists down. I know Tom and I have a bit of a difference of opinion on this one, but I don't have a problem with 40 Ks in neighbourhood streets.
I'm an old greenie, as you know. And
I haven't heard that before.
It is very bad for a car's fuel efficiency to be constantly. Well,
is that why you've got an orange Hawaiian shirt on today?
But it is very bad for cars' fuel efficiency to be slowing down, crossing the speed hump, speeding up. And my mechanic says he can spot any car that lives in an area with lots of speed humps because it destroys the suspension.
So you're giving us an environmental argument against lower speed limits. That's a really interesting one. I've not heard that
roads,
before.
High speed limits. Get to where you got to go more quickly. Everybody wins.
Look, I love the Joyman Autobahn idea just as much as you do, Tom, in the right car, in the right conditions. But for those neighbourhoods where we all live, slow down, I say. Like, I've got, kids. I want to live in a Melbourne where kids can still play out in the street, and that means getting motorists to slow down.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Tom.
Lord Mayor Nick Reece.